Original Firefighter is the podcast and apparel brand that celebrates the heritage and traditions of the American Fire Service. Join us each week for lively discussions that aim to inspire, educate, and entertain, all in the effort to support mental health and well-being for first responders. Please subscribe, hit that bell, and follow us wherever you listen. Let's get into the show. Hi, folks, and welcome to the Original Firefighter Podcast Show. I've got a great guest in the studio with me. It's Shannon Harms, and she is a firefighter from the Chicago area, Northern Illinois, and we're happy to have you with us today. Shannon, how are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. Thanks so much for having me.
We're glad to have you. How did you find out about us?
So I actually homeschool.
Okay.
And I ran into one of the dads.
Yeah.
And he was telling me all about it. I watched a couple of the podcasts and I'm like, oh yes, I absolutely have to be a part of this.
Right. That you were like, oh my gosh, ground floor. Let me get in there.
Yes, absolutely.
That's great. We love having you here. We like having, a wide range of people come into the studio, and we thought you'd be a nice, great guest to have with us. Just given some of the background, it looks like you've been in the fire service for 21 years. And that's awesome. I mean, how's it been for you? 21 years gone by.
Honestly, like you blink and 21 years is gone. I keep telling that to the young kids as they come in here. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to believe because I feel like I'm still a rookie at times. Like you get that joy and you get that passion. And then there's other days you're like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for 100 years already. But I absolutely love it. It's still the best job in the world. It is.
It is a great job. And that's one of the things that we celebrate here at Original Firefighter. It is the best job in the world. There's definitely things that are tough about it, especially in the era of 2024 and the things that firefighters have to endure these days. I got into the fire service in 1991. Actually, that put its a date on me.
Yes.
And I always talk about how much the fire service has changed in that amount of time. What have you seen that has changed in your 21 years?
Oh, there's been so much advancements, not just in the building construction, because obviously we know that the buildings go up so much faster and they come down even faster. Mm-hmm. When we first got in, I mean, you could burn in a house for days on end and really not affect the structure. But I think that being said, we have also changed our tactics. So it was pretty much you roll up on a structure fire and you're just going to be going in. Mm-hmm. You can get a real quick handle on a room and contents fire, as opposed to now we might be doing transitional attacks, hitting it and getting it more under control before going in. We're also getting there a lot faster with the different stations that we have available. So I think that those are some of the changes that we've seen. Training is also huge. I mean, we're doing more training now than we ever have, which I think is phenomenal. Yeah.
No, firefighters are definitely faced with a much shorter response time. They're getting there quicker. It also puts them kind of like right in the barrel of the gun for when, having a rapid, flashover or a changing conditions, the fire behavior, and they're right there when it happens now. Mm-hmm. It used to be that the fire would have time, kind of break out the window on its own under the heat stress, self-venting. And now firefighters are getting there so fast, and they're, having to make very real coordinated fire attack efforts. Mm-hmm. And I realize that's, getting kind of very granular with the whole fire behavior and tactics and strategies. And I'll have that conversation, at a bar all day long because it's fun. If you're a firefighter, you know what we're talking about. Right. And if you're just a listener, it's fascinating to think about fire behavior and what it really means for fire to be able to progress as quickly as it can in today's type of fire versus, say, a fire of, say, the 60s, the 70s, the early, the 80s. Things started to really change in the mid 80s to the 90s when, to your point of building construction. Mm-hmm. How have you been a part of seeing how that comes together? Have you done fire inspections and things of that nature in the department that you work for?
Yes, we do. do building construction as it's going up. We get to walk through it, but we also do building inspections monthly. It's a part of our pre-planned design. So we'll go in, make sure that they're not adjusting the building. I'm sure that you've seen plenty of things over the years where it's not exactly legal the way that they're putting some of these buildings together. And you've run into some pretty chopped up places. We found out that there is a halfway house that's in our district. And it was a single family home that now has 14 bedrooms in it. So going through there with all of them have locks on it, and you're trying to figure all that out. It's absolutely craziness.
Have you ever come across the like a home daycare that just kind of pops up as a daycare, and they have no license. They're not following any kind of guidance or regulations. They're just acting like a babysitting camp in a residential house. Have you ever seen that? Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially down in the basements.
Yeah, exactly.
And yes, obviously we know that basements can be the most dangerous areas to have any type of fire. But now you think about that with all the kids down there too.
Yeah.
And
not good.
We run into one. This is not daycare related, but just unlicensed things.
Yeah.
We went into a structure fire, and they had wall-to-ceiling reptiles, and it was like snakes and spiders and all sorts of the nasty, creepy, crawly things you certainly do not want to do. And we're going in and they're like, okay, yes, we know that heat is going to break the glass. All these things are going to be everywhere. And then what are we doing? Yeah, now I'm going to go ahead and pass. But thankfully, we were able to get it under control pretty quickly. And he's like, hey, did you save my animals? No.
Right.
No, that's your job. They're contained. We decided to shelter in place.
Yeah, I'm that day I'm retiring.
Right.
I'm done.
It's too late. You're already done.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it in Florida with the boa constrictors, the snakes that are, people get them and they raise them for a while and they realize it's too much for them to handle and they let it out into the wild. And I was watching like a TikTok the other day, and they were actually doing training inside of the fire stations on how to handle poisonous snake, like anacondas, boa constrictors, rattlesnakes. Like the firefighters were being taught how to do it themselves. Like I think for them to do it themselves.
Wow. And this is why
that's
I work in Illinois.
Right, exactly.
Unreal.
That's what I mean by look at how much the fire service just continues to always be evolving.
Oh, absolutely.
And you bring up training, and and I talk about training a lot on the show, how much I love doing it. But I can tell you right now, if they're like, so today's topic is reptile, encasing reptiles, and say it's like, no, I'm not doing that. Is it okay if I say no? Because I'm saying no.
We have rookies for a reason.
They are the true canaries of the fire service, are they not?
Absolutely.
Right, yeah.
We're right here. We got your back. Just go on in. It'll be fine. We did it when we were rookies.
Oh, that bite doesn't look that bad.
I'm pretty sure your coat is thick enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so you started out, how did you start out in the fire service? What was your beginning?
So I was actually a volunteer in Rockton, and then I developed into a paid on call and eventually a part-timer, then went out to Winburn, and I was a contract medic out there. And then I got hired on full-time at the department that I'm at right now. Okay.
So, and that's, we have so many people that listen and, they'll kind of comment in and say, that's exactly how I got started. And again, same here. I always have such a respect for people that start out in a volunteer role and they realize that this is what they want to do.
Sure.
It's a great stepping stone. That volunteerism is getting harder and harder, as you can imagine. with so many things that are required before you can even, get into the gear and get on the truck and actually respond.
Sure.
So I think that when people are able to make that switch to go full time, get hired by a full time department, and then that's when you realize, like, holy cow, there's so much inside of that academy that you're learning. That's what volunteers were just doing. That's what I always look back at is say, as I was going through the academy, there were just people for, literally decades, just going like, I'm just doing this job as best as I can. And, it might be hurting me, but I'm still going to do it. Mm-hmm. So, what are you doing now in your full-time job, like your full-time department? What is your position?
So I am a firefighter paramedic.
Mm-hmm.
I also just got my fire investigator. So
okay.
That's going to be super exciting. It's been less than a year, but have already investigated my first fire. So that was kind of exciting.
You did.
One of those milestones.
Without giving names and addresses and things like that, like describe that. So what was your training for fire investigation? What did you end up going through?
All right. So it is a 40-hour a week class, and you go there. I stay at a hotel just because it's so far out there. But you do the first 3 or 4 days is going to be pretty much just classroom work. But then we start lighting stuff up.
Yeah.
I mean, we burn all sorts of stuff, and it is fantastic just to be able to look at the fire signatures that's presented. We also get to kind of play almost like a murder mystery type of thing. The instructors will burn some stuff, and we get to go in there and investigate it. And then we test our hypothesis against what actually happened. So they'll make a video of it. It was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. I love training, so...
Where did you take the class at?
The fire chiefs were holding it through the academy, and the I-chiefs did an amazing job. I was super, super blown away. They brought in, like, one of the arson dogs and everything, too, and they got to show us all of that, which was super cool. I'm always interested in what those dogs can do.
Yeah.
But
So you took the class... You got certified, and then I assume it's a certification, right?
yes, it is.
And then how did you get involved into, already doing your first investigation? What was that all about?
So then we come back to the firehouse, and we start doing some training there to see how we document it and how everything is being done at our department. Every department is a little bit different. And I got to shadow on the first fire and just taking pictures. And then the second fire, I got to do the investigation and write up the report and everything. And it was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, thankfully it wasn't a big one.
Yeah. Everyone should start out with something that, I don't need the whole building on fire and
I don't
falling
want
in and
multi-family dwelling where, everything went up.
Yeah.
No,
Fatalities.
This was a garage that happened to creep into the house. And I'm like, oh, perfect. I can handle this. So it was nice.
But, as you get more experience, obviously you're going to be able to handle the bigger aspects of, is this something that you want to do over time? You want to gravitate to this?
Yes. So, as you know, you're retired.
I am.
So
they just told me.
A little over 20 years in the fire service. We beat our bodies up. This is a very physically demanding job. So I know I'm not going to be able to do this forever. Mm-hmm. But I'm one of the people, I enjoy looking for the next side hustle and looking for the next career. Yeah. I know when, I like to be a busy person. Mm. So I know when I retire, even if I am going to be 55, when I finally retire, tier 2.
Oh, no.
So sad. But I'll want
tier
something
2.
to do.
Yeah.
So this hopefully will help me in my retirement so I can stay in the fire service without killing myself. Yeah,
I am definitely, you bring up tier 2, and I am, for those listening and viewing, if you don't know what tier 2 is, that basically there was the tier 1 group, which is, by age. And when I got into the fire service, I was a part of tier 1. And then tier 2 was that, the downstate politicians and governance decided that they were going to change the retirement age to 55.
In their infinite wisdom, in all the years that they did firefighting, they decided.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm very passionate about the things that I say on the show, which is I hope that the AFFI, the international and all the locals jointly can impress upon politicians, stop changing the age that we can retire at, because you don't want a 55-year-old firefighter crawling through a house trying to say, you don't want that.
Absolutely.
The payout for injury at that time of your life is, it can be massive. It can be very detrimental to the first responder, the firefighter, he or herself. The fact that they're having to put themselves through that just to, get to the end of the road and to, basically get the pension that they earned. I'm sorry about this, misunderstanding out there about what pensions are, but, and I can get some pushback on this. I'm sure there'll be people that say, well, we can't sustain the long-term legacies and things like that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but you don't get to change midstream. It's not right. These people that are doing these jobs, they're putting life and limb on the line. And we disrespect that by changing, the requirements and saying, no, now in order to gain full benefit, you've got to stay until you're 55 years old. And like I said, and to your point, these firefighters are damaging their bodies day in and day out.
Absolutely.
And it's all micro stresses to the body that is breaking us down physically, mentally, and again, to your point, the fact that you brought up the little tear, I did see it. I saw the tear. Tier 2. Tier 2 sucks.
It really does.
So we're hoping that politicians stop changing the game and get back to taking care of our first responders.
Absolutely. Like, you understand, first responders, we are literally the first ones that go rushing in. There was just a hurricane that was in Florida. My department, we sent an engine. We sent a chief without even thinking about it. Yes, absolutely. You guys need resources, we're available. You guys
sent a engine and a chief to Hurricane Milton.
We did.
Okay. Wow, that's awesome. That's impressive. Good job.
We also came up when there was the fire in Rockton.
Yeah.
The chemtool fire.
The chemtool fire, yeah.
We had guys up here for days. We had an engine and a truck up here for days as they were trying to just protect the area.
Yeah. And imagine and again, the chemtool. First of all, in the name of the business that was burning, okay, it's chemtool.
And they're evacuating miles. But okay, can we bring in the first responders? I mean, it's not safe for anybody else, but can we bring in the first responders? I'm sure they'll be fine.
Yeah.
And we're going like, yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
But,
well, again, and I definitely get the tongue in cheek and I like that. I also give mad respect to the planning process of how to get first responders in and get them out safely. But at the end of the day, there's no fire out there. There's no mega emergency where you can plan away every hazard.
Yes.
You can't do it. And so that's the point that I stress in this business that I'm doing, where it's like, now that I have a voice piece, I'm going to say the thing that is going to hopefully resonate with the first responders, with the chiefs of the departments, where I say, and I know that they have their backs for the most part. I mean, they do have their backs for each other. It's when you get outside of our arena and you start playing in the box of governing, and where governments get involved. And I'm not shy to say it. You better be looking out for yourself. Because at the end of the day, they just want the problem to go away.
Yes.
They just want this to get, as quickly as possible, get this matter under control, which is part of our creed, as firefighters. I mean, protect property, protect life, protect property. But when we're responding to, fires with the word chemical in it, you got some bad shit in there. And so, we want everyone to be safe, take precautions, but you can't plan for every hazard, and you can't get rid of all the risk.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say, I know I joke around like, oh yes, absolutely. Yes, sir. Whatever you need. But realistically, we know what we signed up for. And if we don't have people that are stepping up to mitigate the situation, who will?
Right. I know I've had debates about this. We know what we signed up for. Police officers know what they sign up for. Yes. The military, they know what they're signing up for. I've heard that, and it's a great point to bring up. We know what we're signing up for. We just want to make sure that those that we work directly for, that they're not putting us in undue risk, unnecessary risk. If there is a reason, a good reason that we're going to take unnecessary risk, I mean, that reason needs to be pretty big. And I would say that, when we look at what's going on with the Carolinas and Florida with the two hurricanes, coming in so close to one another, I can only imagine that there's some serious risk being taken.
Right.
The thing that I'm always fascinated by is that you will see nightly news clips of civilians themselves taking serious risks, right? So if they can do it out of the goodness of their heart, you better believe that the firefighters and the first responders of this country are the ones, especially whether they're volunteering, whether they're getting paid, they are going to take the ultimate risk. They're trained, they're ready to go, and they're gonna answer the call.
And we don't know how many of the civilians are already first responders and have some of that training. But I do know that some civilians have gotten themselves in serious trouble because they were trying.
Yeah.
Because nobody else was there. They were trying, but they made themselves another victim.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate the training aspect and trying to prepare for everything. But again, like you said, we can't plan away all of the different emergencies. We can't plan for every circumstance. And yes, it does get dangerous. And I do know what I signed up for, but you're absolutely right. There is that little thought in the back of your head, like, is it worth it? And I don't know if you guys use the mantra out here, risk a lot to save a lot.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Okay. I was pretty sure that was
I think that's pretty
across
universal.
the board. Yeah.
Yeah.
Risk a lot to save a lot, risk a little to save a little,
Right,
and risk
absolutely.
nothing to save nothing.
Yeah.
So if that house is already fire blowing through the roof, there is no life inside there. I'm sorry. We'll get it controlled from the outside, but you've got, basement all the way up through the ceiling.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Nobody is sustaining that. I'm not putting my guys in jeopardy going into that building. Well, I fear in the hurricane situations and everything like that, I understand that they were bunkered down until the hurricane actually passed and then went to go and do everything that they could to try to save as many as they could. I understand that. Going out in the middle of a hurricane, I don't understand that. And I'm pretty sure somebody called with a sore toe to get picked up and taken to the hospital during a hurricane too, because that happens all the time.
I think that they're, those agencies that have to deal with that kind of thing, hurricanes get a little bit of a higher attention because there's planning for it,
Sure.
right? There's a, we can see it, it's forming in the oceans and they're, when they can predict when they're going to make landfall. So there's
hopefully a week in advance.
Yeah. So there's that preparation time, right? Now that's not to say that some of these communities, especially you look at what happened to North Carolina, and closer to the mountain, the mountainous regions of North Carolina that were caught off guard by the mudslides. There's things that, again, Mother Nature does what it does, and it's difficult to plan for it all. But I have serious respect for these department heads and agencies that just flat out say it nowadays. I am impressed by them telling the public, you're going to probably die. And I love how we're starting to get to this place where we're just cutting to the chase. If you stay, you will most likely die. You may not like to hear that, but that's what we have to deal with on the other side, is that you chose to stay, and now we're having to take your body out of, this damaged building or dig you out of the mud or whatever it is. It's like, there's a reason that we told you need to leave. And I can understand people that want to stand fast to their home. They don't want anything to happen to it. They want to protect it. Or maybe they have experience because they've gone through it 3 or 4 or 5 different times and like, nothing's ever happened before. But I'd like nowadays where the agencies and the fire chiefs and the police chiefs are just saying, look, we're not going to be out there while this hurricane blows through. I'm not putting my men and women who are on the front lines, I'm not putting them out there at the risk of them losing their lives. And then I have another thing to take care of, which is the loss of life within my organization. Plus, on top of it, deal with the hurricanes or any other natural disaster. It is too much to ask of any agency to have to deal with that.
I think that's fantastic. That is a huge step forward.
Yeah, I think that in that regard, we're getting smarter. You know, and that's how we can also say that, you know, the firefighters and police officers and EMTs, they are getting looked after better. You know, they're not just getting pushed out there into the elements and go, good luck to you.
Right.
You know, and
right.
I think that that's a good change in culture right there.
Absolutely.
What other change in cultures have you seen as you've gone through your 21 years? What other things come to mind when we talk about a change of culture in the first response? Say whatever you feel.
How about let's go medical?
Let's go medical. Okay.
Okay, because we know that 80% of our calls are medical, right?
Yeah.
So even going away from the fire side of it and extrications, things like that, the medical side. I mean, when I went through medic, I'm pretty sure my book was like a pamphlet.
Right.
It was about this thick.
Yeah, now it's like 3 volumes.
It is. It absolutely is. And of course, we stay up on our CEs. Everybody's doing all the training that they need to do to make sure that we're able to handle it all. But did you ever run calls without gloves?
Oh, I don't think that I had the medical gloves on, but I wasn't in, you know, like we didn't have the mindset to put safety glasses on.
Okay.
You know,
that's what I was getting at.
Or to put a mask over your face, for a number of reasons. Okay. But yeah, I mean, you know, I can remember, there's this good friend of mine. There's distance between us now just because life is, you know, just taking us in different places. But I will always remember, and this is a shout out to Scott Fisher of the Beloit Fire Department at one time. And then I think he's gone on to become a chief somewhere in Wisconsin, maybe. He's done a lot of things. He's worn a lot of hats, and he's a very smart individual. But I remember he was like one of the first to get one of those little black pouches with the medical gloves that you wore on your belt. And so he was always ready, right?
Okay.
You know, and I was more chip on my shoulder, like, I don't need to do that. And he'd get on my ass, like, where's your gloves? I still remember you, Scott.
Well, I remember when I first got through medic, they were saying, yeah, you only use your gloves for the messy calls. Like, I mean, if it's going to be bloody, all right, go ahead and put on gloves. Like, these are some hot commodity that we're going to run out of.
Right.
But I do remember that changing to every single call. It doesn't matter if you actually touch the patient or not. I mean, we've picked up some psych patients that we've never actually touched because they were going to lose it or whatever. Every single call gets gloves now. Just about every single call gets a mask. I mean, you think of pre-COVID days and post-COVID days,
right,
and all the changes that we've seen there.
So I think so. You know, you're driving at the evolution of EMS and how the fire services
and all the amazing things that we can do now. Do you guys have Lucas's out here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah.
That is a phenomenal thing that we've been able to do. We're pushing more drugs now. We're like a hospital on wheels.
We absolutely. Let's explore that for a minute. So what you're driving at is, so you said, you know, how about let's go EMS, right? And there is this thing where, from my point of view, I can remember EMS being treated like the redheaded stepchild.
Absolutely. Okay? Yes.
And now,
do I really have to keep my license?
Yeah. and I'm sure that there are people on departments right now that they see it that way, that, you know, EMS is a means to an end. And that's just being honest, that firefighters that exist today, they exist in their positions because EMS is predominantly what they're doing. I push back on it a little bit, and I think that because I can see all the arguments that I've done with people over the time, and I embrace medical to the hilt. I just don't want there to be a confusion as to where the and this is my opinion, is that the majority of risk to our individual selves as a firefighter, it still comes from the structure fire itself. It comes from the abundance of violent calls that are going on. I understand that 80% of the job is EMS, but the low acuity, the rate of that 80% is such a low number of the numbers of serious calls within that 80%. That's what I think is stressing the average first responder out is I am here to, stop the bleeding, start the heart, start the breathing. I'm not here for, I know you were joking, but, someone calling for a stub toe during a tropical storm or a, blizzard. This gets ridiculous.
I would absolutely love the ability to go to someone's house, or even 911 have the ability to say, thank you for calling. I'm sorry, but that's not an emergency. How wonderful would that be? My toe has been bothering me for 3 days and I have to work tomorrow. So I need to get in faster. And I know I will if I go by ambulance. So if you can, I'm like, come on.
It's a fine line. And again, you can't have it both ways.
You've got the medical expertise, right? Mm-hmm. They rely on our training, right? That's what they educate us for.
But we rely on their tax paying.
Agreed.
And that's kind of a little bit of a trump card, right? Agreed. It's a little bit of a trump card where, and I can understand right away, and those who are listening and viewing, that you can understand easily that what we're discussing is there is good reason to call 911.
Yes. There
is other bad reasons, if you will, just to keep it simple, that there's not good reasons to call 911. Mm-hmm. And we can put those into certain categories, right? Mm-hmm. Pretty quickly, actually. I mean, firefighters are great at that. Yes. Like, we can figure things out pretty quickly and say, okay, this is high priority, this is very low priority, mm-hmm. and this is what we want to basically say, to your point, I'm sorry, this does not rise to the level of emergency. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's what the taxpayer needs to be educated on is that that's what you want your firefighters and paramedics and EMTs and law enforcement. You want them there for the emergencies.
Yes.
For the emergencies. So that needs to be the PSA over and over and over and over and over and over.
100%.
Yeah.
We will absolutely respond to any and all emergencies. That you'll see, I can think there was an older lady and she's absolutely having a heart attack. We can see it on the 12 lead. She's like, I'm so sorry for bothering you. I'm like, please, this is exactly what we're here for. Let's get you taken care of. Mm-hmm. We're going to make sure that, you can live to see another day. But then you have another person who, I don't want to waste my gas going to get some Tylenol. Can you just give me some Tylenol?
This episode of the Original Firefighter Podcast is sponsored by Castle Contracting. Castle Contracting offers commercial and residential restoration, leading the industry in roofing, residential siding, gutters and downspouts, egress window installation, storm damage assessment and repair, and solar energy, saving you money and time. If you want to be treated like royalty, contact Castle Contracting to schedule a free inspection. Call them at 877-512-4207 or go online and visit castleexteriors.net. That's 877-512-4207 or go online and visit castleexteriors.net. Serving Illinois, Wisconsin, and Kentucky, Castle Contracting has you covered. Your home is your castle. Call Castle Contracting today.
No, that's not how this works.
Or the ones that are calling because they think they're going to get it into the ER faster.
Absolutely.
And they don't realize there's a word called triage. Mm-hmm. And so, you can call 911 and you'll get
you to triage faster.
The fire department's going to show up with their engine and their ambulance, and they're going to put you there, and you're going to get this nice ride in an ambulance, and then you're going to get put into triage pretty fast. Again, that goes back to prioritization, right?
Have you had frequent flyers that legitimately use the ambulance? That use the ambulance just to get to the hospital? They get up, walk out of the ambulance, because, the drugstore is right down the way. So they needed to get there so that they didn't have to walk as far.
Using it like a taxi, of course.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
yeah, you know what? I don't need to be seen. I'd like to sign a release. I'm like, this is the 4th time this month you have done it.
Yeah. And that's where I think that we're
like, you're wasting our resources. I am stuck here now because you needed a ride, when Lord only knows what's going to happen in our actual department, where somebody could be having a heart attack or somebody could be having a stroke and they need my services because I'm the closest ambulance. But they have to wait for a further ambulance because you needed a ride over here.
Right.
Like, it's just so frustrating.
Well, it's frustrating. It's also becoming more and more the reason that we're seeing fire departments, especially fire departments, they're starting to, create mobile health.
Yes.
Integrated mobile health, integrated response teams within communities to help with some of that, with, to help with that ongoing abuse, if you will. And I struggle with it a little bit. I see the value. It's always this sort of trading horses where if I start up a special program, and I'll just leave it at that. If I start a special program, it always seems to be that, okay, while that's happening, the line personnel are still getting just pummeled with call volumes that are, inundating them with stress, physical stress, mental stress, and it's changing the culture it's impacting the culture negatively for the line to get ignored or to be overlooked or whatever you want to say there. And then have all these special programs pop up and say, okay, well, these special programs are going to help to alleviate some of those calls. And I always find that the line personnel are like, but it's not though. I mean, yeah, it's tackling some of those frequent flyers and mega users. And also at the same time, hopefully it's really actually making it, and I believe that it is. There is a part of it that is positively impacting any community. If you're helping people with their chronic illnesses where they need, in-home health care, they need access to prescription drugs, they need just basic understanding of how to keep themselves safe in the house or in their apartment, I'm all for it. I have no problem with that. What I have a problem with is that what we end up doing is we put so much focus on those programs and we forget that the line is still just getting slammed.
Yes.
The line is getting slammed. And I know the numbers, I've got the evidence behind me to say it's killing them. And I drive that point home pretty hard on this, that's for sure. So as we move forward, what is the organization that you now are a part of? It's I'm going to let you say the title of it, but you're a part of an organization, and what is it all about?
So it's the Triple F'ers. Yeah. It's the Fierce Female Firefighters.
Okay.
And it's a Facebook
I like the title.
Group. I know, isn't it fantastic?
Or the name, the Triple
Absolutely.
The Triple F'ers.
I love it so much. And there are different challenges that women face in the fire service that men wouldn't be a part of. So it's great to be able to just kind of vent, because I absolutely love this job. I love everything about it, but there are different challenges. And so it's nice to be able to vent with a great group of girls. And we also do a lot of training. We just had a burn tower that was set up, and it was all women. To be able to go out there and see all of these women working together was phenomenal. They also developed it's a Triple F'er doll.
Okay.
And it is a female firefighter. And it's great for the girls to be able to see it because, if you can see it, you can be it. And I love that aspect. Going into public education, that's one of my passions in the fire service. I know a whole lot of the guys are like, oh, we got to go and do another school show. I love it so much. And when you go in there and the kids say, oh, it's a girl fireman, that's awesome. I'm like, yes.
We're okay with that, right?
You could do it too. Yes.
Okay,
I'm totally
good.
okay with that.
Good, because I'm willing to go down the road with you, but when we start getting into semantics,
I'm not a firewoman.
I'm sorry.
I get corrected because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a fireman, a firewoman.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm pretty sure the politically correct is firefighter.
Karen just showed up.
Right. I'm like, it's my job. I'll use whatever title I
love your shirt. I
thank
do.
you.
I honestly,
Yeah,
I do.
there's a her.
There is a her in brotherhood. I do like that.
I
It's
love
good.
it. Mm-hmm.
Do you think so? So I understand. I think I get the premise of the group, and so the triple Fers. It's for firefighters
and medics as well. It's
but
first
for women.
responders. For women, yes.
Okay.
And so another thing that we work on is, like I was talking about with the training. So our body mechanics are different. I don't have the upper body strength that some of the guys would have, but my legs are ridiculously strong. So we do things a little bit differently. So some of the trainings we might do goes over body mechanics. Like when I throw a ladder, I make sure that I do a push-pull technique so that I can walk it up. I'm not the tallest person.
We got it on that right there.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Thanks for that, Erin.
Love those girls.
Good job.
So we might go over proper body mechanics of how to throw a ladder.
Yeah.
Or whether it's a rung raise or whatever you need to do. Or advancing a hose line, the nozzle first. I don't know if you guys are doing that okay.
Yep.
So obviously there's going to be different ways of doing it when your lower body is the main strength. Now, don't get me wrong. I absolutely think if you can't do this job, get out. But
Hear.
This is not that. Mm-hmm. It's just a different way of doing it. So it might look different, but the job still gets done. I'm not going to say, well, would you mind doing this? It's just too hard. Like, I am ridiculously hard. I shouldn't be. I know that I should be, girl power.
I've seen it on both sides, just so we're clear. I've seen it on both sides.
Oh, 100%.
And it's funny because I love the little voice that you just did there. Because that's what we imagine, right? But that's not actually how it plays out. How it plays out is that you have, we'll call them, I'll call them loafers, or the blister. You know what the blister is? It's the thing that shows up when the job's done. Mm-hmm. And so you have these loafers and blisters that they're kind of do like a chameleon thing where they're there, but they're not really participating.
Sure.
And so therefore other driven people who are passionate about getting the job done, doing it well, and representing the fire service properly, they get the job done.
Yes.
And then the others, the loafers, they just sort of get to absorb some of the limelight.
Sure.
But they do it very, very subtly. This episode of the original Firefighter podcast is brought to you by Benny's Slots, Wine, Spirits, and Empire Gaming. With 3 locations serving the Rockford area in Roscoe, McChesney Park at Nest, and Cherry Valley at the Harley-Davidson store, Benny's is the place with taste and enough luck to go around for everyone, provided by Empire Gaming. Each location offers fun and entertainment with weekly sports, events, drawings, and live music in a plush environment. As a side note, I recently had my retirement party this past summer at Benny's at Nest in McChesney Park, and they gave us the VIP experience all around. For the best atmosphere, for the best entertainment, head to Benny's for good drinks, good friends, and good times. Stop in at a Benny's location near you today. And here's where training comes into play. Is get those chameleons, get those loafers out to the training ground. It will come out right like
Absolutely.
that they
Yes.
don't know what they're doing. And so many individuals out there will say, "Oh, they're picking on me." You are getting flushed out. Mm-hmm. Sorry, but that's what you're getting flushed, and it's for the good.
Yes. Can I tell you a story?
Go ahead. Yeah, of course.
You can go ahead and edit this if
no,
we
go
need
ahead.
to.
Just go ahead.
All right. So I enjoy doing the live fire trainings. Mm-hmm. So I was actually down south in near Springfield, and we were doing just some down and dirty days. And we had a couple of new people that were in there. We have this girl, and they're telling us, just to throw a 24. Mm-hmm. Not a big deal. You just go up there, throw it against the building, raise it up, spin it into place. All right, not a problem. So she gets up there, and I'm going to use my phone, but she takes her 2 hands, and she's like, she goes, and I promise you, I about lost my mind. she decided to twirl her hair in her finger, and
I love
she
how the
looks
voice
at the
comes out.
instructor and she says,
She's from California.
I just can't do it. I lost my mind on this poor girl.
Yeah.
I walk up there, I throw the ladder up, I roll it into place and everything, and I'm like, you are what's giving women a bad name. How dare you come in here? Like, if you're just being a badge bunny, meet us at the bar afterwards. Like, I just went off on this girl. And I know I'm way harder on girls because we all get lumped together.
Yeah.
So if you've got a loafer and he's a guy, that guy is lazy.
Yeah.
If there's a girl that's lazy, it's just, women are just lazy in the fire service. And I'm not saying that's across the board. I'm saying
Yeah, no, I get
we
you.
do see that. And especially because there's such low numbers of women, it's very easy to group it together.
Yeah. I mean, and that's well said. I mean, that's what ends up happening is that there's more of a magnifying glass, if you will,
Absolutely.
on females in the fire service. And there are more men. And so therefore the men loafers can sort of get lost in the wash.
Yes. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that they get called out too.
Oh, they do.
But it's like, he's just lazy. That's just how he is.
Yeah.
Why is that acceptable?
It's not, though. I mean, I push back on it. It's not acceptable. Mm-hmm. There is definitely shaming that goes on that men do to other men that we shame them too.
Okay.
I mean, we do. But I think that what you're driving in, especially with the triple Fers, is that there's a good reason to share the information across the board. And who better to do that than females for other little girls, is to say, you can do this, I'm doing this, and you can do this too. And no one has an issue with that. Mm-hmm. The issue comes to be, we want just be able to do the job.
Absolutely, yes.
Just, like you say, to your point, hey, if you're lacking in one area, you got to strengthen another area, and collectively we will get the job done. But just show up, show up on the fire, show up on the medical call, show up at the extrication. Be present, show up, at least have something that you can contribute. If you can't do those basic things, that will get you a red flag every day of the week and twice on Sundays.
Right, absolutely. I think there's been a couple of girls that I've trained up to pass the CPAT.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a challenging test, and I think it's more the time thing than anything else, is just trying to be able to manage your time and get through it. But there are some different challenges, like the proper way to get the dummy up on you so that you're not, dragging the majority of the weight, or doing the ceiling breach and pull. So if I hold it down here, I use my legs the majority of the time. I'm not using my hands, but it gets the job done. So it's a little tricks in that women have been able to pick up on. And as long as we can share those with others, we can get more women in there, because I know that there's a lot of women out there that are just intimidated. I can't be with all these guys. You absolutely can.
Yeah. So I think that going back to the triple Fers, I think that something that should get highlighted is that there can be a perception that it's these groups, sort of one group sort of gets ended up pitted against the other group because, I'm not a female, therefore I'm not going to be able to be in the triple Fers.
Sure.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. What I think should be highlighted is that kudos to the triple Fers or any other organization that is attempting to say, we know who we are and we're going to take responsibility for that. Yeah. We're going to highlight, to your point, that there are things that we cannot maybe do as well as our counterpart, but we're going to highlight the things that we can do better or as efficient or find another way, however that plays out. But you're communicating within your own group to say, there is a reason that we're here, and it shouldn't be shunned away. Mm-hmm. It should be embraced to that level, to where as long as you're taking responsibility for the idea that I want to be in the fire service for the right reasons, which are passion, deliverance of service, making sure that when the tones go off, I'm present.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I think these groups are doing that are great, female or male or otherwise.
I think they push so hard because, yes, we do see the challenges, but it's nothing that we can't overcome. By working towards it and getting different ways of doing it, like you said, I'm not relying on anybody else. I'm going into myself and I'm saying, okay, look, my girls told me if we do X, Y, and Z, we're going to be able to get this done. So we train at it, we work at it to make sure that we can do that. The last thing we need, obviously we know in the fire service, you're only as strong as your weakest link. We rely on all of each other, every single one of us, when we go into a structure fire. If I know that you can't do a certain job, I'm kind of tying my hands there like, oh, crap. All right, well, he can't go on the roof. Let's send that engine. As opposed to, okay, I know that you're struggling going up on the roof. So let's tackle that when we're back at the station. And those are things that we can work on before we actually go to the fire. So that's pretty much what this group is doing. Hey, what weaknesses do you have, or what things are you struggling with that we can work on? They put out videos that goes over physical fitness stuff. So there's different workout plans that you can build up different parts of your body to make sure that we're able to do the job that needs to be done. And we're not relying on our counterparts to, hey, go tag that hydrant. Okay, can somebody carry the bag for me? It's really heavy. You know?
The voice comes out again. Where does that voice come from? I mean, think about that, though, right? It comes from somewhere.
It's just that women are supposed to be so weak and so vulnerable, and it's just like that damsel in distress, and that's what it sounds like to me.
You're sitting across from a guy that doesn't. That thought doesn't come through my head at all. And it's not to say that it doesn't go through other men's minds. I don't speak for everybody. What I stress here on the show is that, and we do this quite a bit, is that we want everyone to be able to show up and do the job properly. Yes. Again, this goes back to, don't care if you're male or female. I'm fucking over it. I'm just over it.
Yes.
That's not
white,
to say
black, purple, or green. No, I don't care about any of that. I don't care about your gender, your race, your sexual orientation. What you identify as, right?
Stop. We don't care.
Yes. Just do the job.
Just do the job. And there will always be someone, and it could be several, that could either be listening and viewing, and they may make comments and they say, well, but I'm dealing with these things. And I'm not here to say that you're not dealing with that. You could be dealing with things that we haven't even discussed or thought about. And I welcome those ideas to be brought forward, and we'll either dive into it or have a better understanding.
Sure.
I'm not there to disrespect that. What I feel is being disrespectful is the idea that we have to identify each other in those terms rather than just identify each other as being firefighters.
Absolutely, yes.
We're firefighters, we're law enforcement, we're EMTs, we're paramedics. That is the title that matters. That's the title that taxpayers are paying for.
Yes.
They don't give a shit if it's a female firefighter, a male firefighter, a black, a brown, a red, a white firefighter. They don't care.
And we're all encapsulated when we're going into the houses anyway. It's so incredible when you go and you take off your hood after you're done. That's a girl?
And do it in the Chicago fire way with just shaking it off.
No, because at that point, I mean, they can already see every part of your face because, and we certainly aren't going to put any water on the fire until after everything has been taken care of.
Yep.
Oh, that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I get those types of shows drive me nuts, and I try so hard to watch it and just enjoy the. No.
Morgan Freeman. This is just a little bit different, but I'm going to go there. Morgan Freeman has this awesome exchange on a CNN interview with Don Lemon, and it's two black men having a conversation, right? And Don Lemon is the host, and Morgan Freeman is the guest. And Morgan Freeman looks right at Don Lemon and says, "Stop talking about it. Stop highlighting our differences, and start embracing what we understand about each other, and we can put our arms around that rather than always stressing about, well, this is how we're different and this is how we must understand each other in a different sort of way." And it's like, once again, I'm here to tell you, if I like you or don't like you, that's on me, right? That's on each individual. If you are purposefully going out of your way to be biased or bigoted, prejudiced or racist, if you're purposely going out of your way to do those things, you are a problem in and of yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay. That can be addressed. That this one size fits all, it's bullshit.
Agreed.
It's one big bullshit lie. And I've said it clearly, and I'm standing by that. I think that there are individuals that can grow, and their mindset can change if you can show that. I'm not saying single everybody out, but we don't all need revamping of what we think in our heads, just to understand that I embrace firefighting and the brotherhood, the sisterhood, and the ideas of what we want to strive for in the fire service, and have that somehow be filtered through DEI or diversity training of some sort. I'm sorry, you're missing the mark. Yeah. You're missing the mark.
It was really funny. When I got hired on the department I'm at right now, I'd say we're a fairly small department. We've only got 3 stations. But I was the first female to ever be hired on full-time in that department in our history. So there was a couple of things that, they tried changing to make it so that I could fit in. And they gave me a locker, and there was some magazines in there that probably shouldn't have been in there. And my lieutenant at the time was mortified. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I had no idea," and everything. And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I came in early and threw those up there. Did you mind? Is it okay?" And
you said that?
I said that to him. And now, mind you, I'm here for all of 10 hours already.
I'm going to take a drink of my Heaven Hill on that one. That's pretty freaking good.
I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't realize that was going to be an issue." And he's like,
"That's pretty good."
What? And I'm like, I'm just saying, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Let it go. We had a guy who farted at dinner. Okay. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, there's a girl here. Are you seriously doing that?" He's like, "Hey, if she can't take somebody farting around her, she's in the wrong business."
Yeah.
I'm like, not a big deal at all. Just because I choose not to do that doesn't mean that I'm going to be offended by you doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I when we do these conversations, I have a responsibility to have somewhat of a filter. Certainly, we want to express all types of feelings and thoughts and ideas on the show, but the one thing that comes to mind is that I can always hear that there's someone out there that's saying, "Yeah, but that's still not right," and I'm just going to cut it off and go, "No, you're right. It's not right." And the magazines should come out of the stations.
Agreed.
The culture should change.
And I feel like it is.
Oh, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. And
is it a slow process?
Absolutely.
It is what it is.
But, imagine changing anything within any culture.
Agreed.
It's like trying to turn a ship, right? It's not trying to turn a Toyota Camry. You're trying to turn a big ship.
Right.
And it takes time. When I say that we're missing the mark with things like, diversity training, DEI, all this kind of stuff, that's pretty much, it's infiltrating everything that we're discussing in the fire service, especially. And when I say that we're missing the mark, is that what we're doing is we're saying that these things, it feels like we're saying that these things matter more.
Yes.
Than going back and, keep with the basics, which is be there for the emergency that's happening. When someone is down in the street or in their living room and they're not breathing, I don't stop and check to see what gender they are. I don't stop to check and see what race they are. I don't check to stop and see what religion they are. They are a human being.
Yes.
And firefighters should see each other the same way, that
Agreed.
You're a human being, I'm a human being. I don't have to get down into the genetics of everything,
right,
and understand that I should just treat you as a good person, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
And that's what I want to basically stress here.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And I don't think that, okay, so
if you didn't learn that in kindergarten, you didn't, something fucked up. You got something fucked up there. Your teacher did a horrible job.
I am concerned that...
Or your parents.
When you base jobs, when you try to make it equal for everyone and you're only hiring a percentage of brown people or females or whatever it is, you're not getting the best applicant. You don't have to be white, you don't have to be black, you don't have to be a male, you don't have to be a female, but you should be the most qualified. And I think once we take all of that off of the board.
Well, I think a lot of it's already being taken off the board because we mentioned this in other shows where, and you bring up a good point, is that it's going to end up getting taken off the table regardless because we're getting such low application.
Oh my goodness, yes.
That, you're going to end up with what you get.
This is our third time testing in 2 years because we've exhausted the list. Like our guys are getting to the age where everybody's retiring and we just don't have enough applicants.
Yeah.
So now we're still short.
So that goes right back to the point of this particular conversation is that we need men and women.
Yes.
We need black and white. We need brown, Asian. We don't care. We don't care.
Absolutely.
The recruiter of your department, your community, stop with this. We got to, fill these quotas or get a percentage of whatever and get back to the fact that we need people that can do a very, very tough job. It's still
the best job in the world. I mean, all jobs are hard. There's going to be challenges that come with all jobs. Yeah. But realistically speaking, I mean, come on, our schedule is freaking amazing.
It is a good schedule.
And
so that brings us to, we did some good conversation about on the job, but what about off the job? So I want to dive into that. This is obviously Original Firefighter. We are gear for your off days. We're also here for your off days. It's a little plug for our business.
Sure.
But what are you doing off the job when you're not in the arena of firefighting and saving lives and investigating fires now?
Sure.
What are you doing off the job?
So I am a mom. I have 4 absolutely gorgeous daughters. One of them went off and joined the military after she finished high school. So she got married after that. And she now has 3 kids. So that makes me a Mimi because I am
You have 4 daughters.
I do.
And one of them is married. She went in the military. She went in the Army?
Yeah.
She went in the Army and she's married and now she's already had,
3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. I know, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me because I am far too young to be a grandma. I'm still 29. I'm not going to tell you how many anniversaries of that 29th I've had, but...
Here's to you being 29. You look amazing.
Oh, thank you.
It must be the, what are you drinking here? What do you got? You got some Uptown?
Chocolatinis.
So you're having chocolatini, and we always put bourbon on the table at Original Firefighter. And today I've got the bottled in bond Heaven Hill Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. It is heaven. It's good. You're welcome to it. We always share here.
I'll have to try it.
But I cheers and I didn't drink, so I'm going to do that.
But yes, it is
so
crazy to think
you've got a big family.
I do. Yes. Well, I'm one of 9. So
you're one of 9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have 8 other siblings.
Mm-hmm. 4 brothers, 4 sisters. I'm literally right smack dab in the middle. Wow. 2 older brothers, 2 older sisters, and 2 younger brothers and 2 younger sisters.
And then you yourself, you've had your own pretty good sized family there with 4 daughters, and now you got 1 daughter off. And how's military life going for her?
She loved it. They actually are both veterans now. She did 7 years, and I think he was in for 9.
Oh, that's a good chunk, yeah.
And both of them are out now.
Were they both in the Army?
They were both Army.
Yeah, yeah, good.
And
that's awesome.
Now they're living in Ohio. So it's a whole lot closer than where they were. I mean, they've been stationed all over the place, but it's nice. It's a 4.5-hour drive, so not bad at all. But yes, it's absolutely crazy. They're not in Springfield,
Ohio, are they?
They're not.
That town's been in the news a little bit lately. So that's great. So now what else are you doing on your off days? Because, I mean, you're part of the Triple F'ers. We've already talked about that. And then you do some other things that are pretty special. Yeah,
so I am also, I'm a Christian. I absolutely put God in the forefront of everything that I do. And I sing on the worship team, which is pretty cool at Life Church.
Okay.
And
Is that a good size church? I don't know.
It's a pretty good sized church, but I would say that it's not one of the mega churches or anything like that.
Okay.
But there's one in Roscoe and in Rockford.
Okay.
But I absolutely love it there. We've been going there for 18 years. And but I have also sang the anthem at all sorts of events, which is amazing. I did it at the Oscar Mike Ball. Have you heard of the Oscar Mike? Okay. Mm-hmm. I think that is an absolutely incredible.
You sing the national anthem?
Yes.
Is that, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
I have to
keep that in the back of my mind. We've got the 25th anniversary of 9/11 coming up.
Oh.
Obviously, it's we just go through the 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
So so we'll be coming up to the 25th anniversary pretty quick, and I'm board president of our local 9/11 memorial. So I know we're going to be doing a 25-year anniversary, remembrance on a larger scale.
I've done it at all sorts of 9/11 events and the Honor Guard. I'm an Honor Guard member as well.
Are you?
And so I've done it at the Honor Guard convention. I saw that you had Phil on here.
Yeah.
I love Phil. He's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. We refer to him as Elvis. When Phil is on the show, Elvis is in the building.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, he's a character of himself, and I have mad respect for that guy. And so you're honor guard. You sing in the choir. You carry the national anthem, which is great. I mean, we love the red, white, and blue here at Original Firefighter. We welcome all of those types of things, and love the military aspect. Well, we have mad respect for those who are either in the military or family members, such as your daughter. So I mean,
both of my parents were Marines.
Oh, no kidding.
My mom is probably the most badass woman that I've ever met. She is absolutely amazing. My sister was in the Army. Like, we've got a long line of it throughout. So I was actually signed up to, gosh, this is terrible. So I was signed up to go into the Army after I finished high school. Mm-hmm. And that's when I found out I was pregnant.
Okay.
So, I was like, oh my goodness. Yes, I was just a baby. And very shortly after finishing high school, I had a baby of my own.
Right.
And yes, it was absolutely life-changing in itself. Yeah,
so it changed. Mm-hmm. And we've discussed this on other episodes where so many people have had that almost moment where they went into the military, almost went to the military. And I have the same, type of situation. My dad was 20 years in the Air Force. And at that point, when I was getting out of high school, I was, right on the line, whether I was going to go military first or straight into the fire service. Wasn't quite sure. I had a lot of conversation and started going down that road of, was I, going into the Air Force? And then that's when the first job offer came, to be a full-time firefighter. And that's what I chose. Mm-hmm. I chose that. And a lot of it was because it was kind of put right there in front of my face, hard to turn that down.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think that people that go into the military, they get such another view of life, that's extremely unique. They tend to become some of the most responsible people. They end up turning out to be really great firefighters. Mm-hmm. And law enforcement.
Oh, absolutely.
All the walks of first responders. Mm-hmm. If they're coming from the military, by and large, they end up being just awesome at it.
Yes. I mean, we are a paramilitary group as firefighters, but I absolutely think that they do come with an amount of respect. And I love to see the veterans coming in or those that are still in the National Guard and those types of things. Yeah. I'm like, yes, please, and thank you. Yeah. We need you here.
I was just out in DC this last weekend and going through DC, kind of doing some. I was out there for some work, and I was out there for some just downtime, and the number of honor flights that were bringing in veterans. Sure. It was like the most I'd ever seen. I mean, it was literally bus after bus of these honor flights of different veterans. A lot of them, at this point are from the Korean War and the Vietnam War. I mean, because there's just very few left from World War II, and so now you're seeing these honor flights of Vietnam veterans, the Korean War, and how amazing is that to have that as part of our culture, that we remember those people who serve in the military, and then we find a way to get them to say, Washington, D.C., to see these,
Yes.
iconic memorials. And so we just love all that stuff.
I love it too.
Yeah. Shannon, we've had a great time. We really enjoyed having you on the show. What we want to just do is, make sure that that we're out here looking for, firefighters, all walks of life. We appreciate what you're doing with the triple Fers, and just making sure that, women know and little girls know that this is a job that can be for them as well. So we've appreciated the conversation so much. And I just want to say to those who are listening and viewing, thanks for always tuning in. Don't forget that Original Firefighter is not just gear for your off days. You can go to originalfirefighter.com. You can pick up shirts and hats, things that carry the logo proud. Just remember that we are also here for your off days. This is Original Firefighter. Be safe.